Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the final session of the Africa Forum. Thank you for attending the past 2 days. We hope that you leave today feeling inspired about what is currently happening in the continent and how you can be part of its promising future. My name is Bianca Vermooten. I am a film producer from South Africa. I've had the privilege of following stories to different corners of the globe and creating award-winning feature films, documentaries, and narrative shorts, working in collaboration with Tencent Pictures, Films, and X Prize, to name a few. This year, I'm currently completing my MBA at Said Business School, and I'm so delighted to be wrapping up the forum with my favorite topic, Africa to the World, the rise of authentic African storytelling. We're joined today by Kemi Adetiba from Nigeria and Thusi from South Africa, who will be sharing with us their experience and insights into the exciting future of African entertainment that's currently entering a new stratosphere of accessibility and opportunity. Kemi began her career as a familiar voice on popular Nigerian radio shows and transitioned to being in front of the camera on Mnet Studio 53. But more notably, Kemi is one of Africa's most successful directors. Her film, The Wedding Party, went on to gross a total of 400 million naira. She's the founder of a web documentary series, King of Women, which showcases Nigeria's powerful women in business to understand their challenges and to inspire the young women in Nigeria. Her most recent project is the sequel to King of Boys, which hopefully we can hear a little bit more about, a Netflix original that will be released shortly. And Thusi is a South African actress, model, television host, and radio personality. She's made great strides on the African continent and abroad, breaking glass ceilings and paving the way for future talent. She starred in many local and international feature films, including The Scorpion King, Book of Souls, Kalushi, Quantico, and most notably, she recently played the lead of Queen Sona on Netflix's first original African series. So as you can see, we've got some badass women, and it's such a treat to be with both of you today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. We really appreciate it. So, because you both had such incredible careers and are icons of excellence, I think it'd be great to start off by telling our audiences why you chose a career in the entertainment industry and why storytelling is so important.
Kemi, take the lead, babe.
I told you to ask all the hard questions. Come on, yeah, they did. Well, I don't know. The trajectory of my own career is a weird one. I don't think I necessarily chose to be here. And if I was to sit down and break down all the little moments that brought me to this very point in time, it'll take forever. But I would say it's divine. But one thing I would say is I've always been an artsy kid. I was that very weird kid that I loved watching movies, but then I never was watching a movie thinking, do you know what? When I grow up, I want to be a director. It never felt like it was an option to me. And especially growing up in an African family where the Holy Trinity is you want to become a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer. Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily an option per se. I'm legally trained. I have a first degree in law. And I thought that was my only option. But incidents happen along the way. So say, for instance, while I was in my first year in studying law, someone called me and said, hey, do you want to come try out? You know a lot about music. Do you want to come try out for the radio station? And that particular radio station was having a shift at that point in time. And basically, they were hiring younger people. Initially, before then, it was older people that were on the radio, older, more experienced people on the radio. And now they were just changing shifts, and then they were putting in younger people that had a pulse on the culture. And I was one of the people that had asked to come in to audition. And I went in there. I remember it was a room full of like 20 other young people. I think I was 19 or 20 at the time. And I think they said something about the pay, and I was like, yep, that's not for me. Picked up my bag, and I was like, this is by everyone. But what is so weird is they called me 2 days later, and they were like, you start on Saturday. And I was the only person out of the room full of 20-something people that got the gig. But then, so I jumped in afraid. I didn't know what I was doing. But then every moment, everything has led from radio then to television, and from television to behind the camera, and I'm about to make my next pivot, which is tech and media. So I wouldn't necessarily say I thought about being in this space. I never thought it was an option, but I'm so grateful that it seemed like it was ordained and so many things pushed me into this direction. Sorry for the long-winded explanation.
That's great. Thanks, Kemi. And yourself, Pearl?
You thought that was long-winded. Get ready. Wow. I think when I figured out that I couldn't pick any one thing to do, I realized, okay, I didn't realize the world decided for me that I was a creative, right? I just wanted to do everything. I just thought everything was beautiful. But I then settled on, I love animals. I had my birds here earlier making a noise, so I had to check them outside. But I wanted to be a wildlife vet. And then, due to unfortunate circumstances and lack of lack of access to information. I grew up in the hood, I didn't have access to certain types of information like bursaries and scholarships, and started modeling to make some extra money because my dad didn't want us to fall pregnant. He wanted us to, to take care of ourselves. And so we ended up modeling because my older sister used to do it. Did that and loved it, and realized at some stage that the dream of being a wildlife vet, I always say I'll have to Leonardo DiCaprio it. You know what I mean? My dream is to like hang out with Jane Goodall,
Yes.
And yeah, so one thing led to another. Then while I was in high school, I really started enjoying drama a lot. And as I did modeling, I started becoming a woman, gaining weight and all that. And back then having an ass wasn't cool, by the way. So it was for me like a big problem, excuse the pun. And I mean, it wasn't even big enough for it to be like a problem, but in the modeling world. And then I decided, I can do more. I want to do more because most of what I did was commercials anyway. Naturally, that led to acting because I always had an interest. But I'm always quite shy about big dreams sometimes. And this is going to sound weird, but I am, because I always feel like it's something you need to earn. And I hadn't finished studying for it. I always kind of respect people's crafts. And when I want to take part in them, I always feel like I need to earn respect. But I think the world is changing a lot in terms of the world is changing and so many things are new that you don't have to seek validation. You know what I mean? But for me, that's kind of basically, in a nutshell, or the skeleton of my story of how I became an actor or an actress. But I also have done radio. I've done television for youngs. I've presented, I've hosted award shows in Ghana, Nigeria, and here in South Africa, and also in the States. Like I've done a lot of great things that I'm proud of. And I must tell you that, I mean, maybe only when I was 14, I dreamt of being famous. But when I started learning more about what needs to be done to be successful, that's when I started really taking things seriously and realized that, there's something special happening here. And clearly this industry is inviting me. I should also open my arms.
That's wonderful. And yeah, what incredible platforms you both have to be able to influence and just inspire young women who come from similar backgrounds. So there's been a lot of talk about the African narrative. And that's what I just want to chat with you ladies about today. But when we think about African narratives, it's kind of not really a fair statement to make because we're not just one giant homogenous entity. We're a continent with 54 countries, 1.3 billion people who speak thousands of languages. And I'm not sure it's possible to have a truly authentic African voice because we've got such interesting and unique voices from across our entire continent. The voice in Kenya is different to that in Morocco. And I'd just love to know from both of you, what is the South African narrative that you think the world needs to hear? And what's the Nigerian narrative that you believe the world needs to hear? Pearl, you can go first this time.
I thought Kemi had put her finger up to say I'd said, so I thought maybe she'd go so that she could say that thing, but it's fine. Okay, so I think for me, speaking as a South African, and we did the first African original, of course, we couldn't represent every single voice. But I think what's also important to remember, I think as you were asking the question, I thought of two things. I first thought of the fact that I think not as a homogenous voice, but we can be connected in the same way with film or narrative, in the same way music has connected. Look at Davido's music, Burna Boy's music, Wizkid's music, and some South African artists' music as well, that has really connected people. If you think of the song Jerusalema, I had friends of mine from Congo and the States being like, explain the song to me. So the thing is, we are all the human race at the end of the day, and we can represent each other. Just that everybody needs to one day see themselves in the next person, you know, because the story of love in Africa, we all have, you know, that lower alism, middle class, and high alism, and the stories will be similar. They will, you know, they will echo in someone else's spirit. However, you know, when we did our show, we did as much as we could with the budget that we had, and with the access to the information that we had, and the access to talent that we had. So there's a lot of narratives that still need to be seen. I think that what we also need to remember is that Africa still needs to become unified. You know what I mean? Because even now, while we try to create our own narratives and work together, we are not even really together. And I speak as a South African who lives in a country where people were sanctioned from even knowing what's happening outside of their own country not so long ago. And now people are needing to learn more about each other, to have more tolerance, to have more understanding, and to seek more information from each other. I think I'm not proud of things that have happened in South Africa recently. I mean, they're not unique to South Africa, but they have been highlighted in South Africa, and they need to be addressed. And for those narratives, a narrative that needs to be seen from any place, especially in the world of artists, is a true representation of what is happening in that day, in that moment, so that in 100 years, people can look back at what we did to represent the time we lived in. And as Africans, we need to tell those stories as truthfully as you possibly can. We need to fight for them to be told properly as often as we can. And I think we need to start learning to listen to each other's stories, watch each other's stories, for us to become more unified. I think that's what I've got to say.
Awesome. Thank you, Pearl.
And Pearl said everything I wanted to say. Okay, no, just kidding. I mean, just before we came on, we were having the 10-minute discussion before we went live, and I was discussing with you and of course with Lauren. I remember Lauren was saying, look, I haven't really done that much traveling, so it's always great to, so I kind of get lost in the world of movies, and that's what film is about. Film is the greatest vehicle to transport or transfer a certain narrative. Look, one of the things I say, we're all immigrants, right? I'm an immigrant, you know, and I live in the States, and even if you were coming stateside,
we're all immigrants. We are all immigrants.
Thank you.
All immigrants. South Africans.
So now, do you understand
from West Africa?
The point I'm trying to make. So now the thing about it is, if you're coming to the Western world, one of the things that most probably the parents would have done if you were coming when you were much younger is bring you during the summertime, because they want you to maximize your stay, maximize the money. They won't bring you during winter. So many people didn't see snow until maybe they moved to the Western world for school or to live. Now, before you moved there and you actually held snow in your hand, did you know what snow was? Yes. Did you know snow was white? Yes. Did you know snow was cold? Yes. Why? Film. Film. And we as Africans have been conditioned from the moment we were born to accept Hollywood movies. So even if it's a totally different language and accent, we sit there and we understand. We didn't have the grace of subtitles back in the day. But because we were so conditioned, we can sit down, understand the entire movie very well from the very beginning to the very end. The markets lady or the girl in the grocery store will sit down and watch a movie and understand this American movie from the very beginning to the very end. Now, if an American person was to stand in front of her trying to buy something, now that might be a different thing where, you know, understanding the language, but understanding film, yes. But then it was never really accepted in the reverse. But now the world is opening up. Lines are getting more blurry and actually not even existing anymore, championed majorly by the streamers. And one of the things I say a lot, especially when I'm teaching, is look, there's only a certain number of times people want to see Tom Cruise jump from this burning building into the helicopter. We've seen it so many times. So now we're opening up to different stories. So now they're like, okay, what do you guys have for us? But then, and I think another thing, bringing this point while we're talking about the African narrative, and one of the things I am so grateful for is when I did come out of film school, I didn't get my first film till years later, which allowed me to understand my own voice, own my own voice, and own being an African. That is why now I can unapologetically make movies that are authentically Nigerian. Wedding Party was an authentically Nigerian story, and I think that was one of the reasons that it did so well. King of Boys, we're not pretending to be anything that we aren't. If I had done a movie straight out of film school, I probably would have named people Stephanie, something else. There's nothing wrong with that, but then it would have been from another mindset, because I would have been trying to make this. I would have been a Nigerian filmmaker trying to make an American movie or a British movie, and I cannot make an American movie better than Americans. It does not, it's never gonna happen. And then it's understanding that we also love in a different way. We express love in a different way. We express grief in a different way. When a man in a movie, in an American movie, the way a man would say "I love you" to his wife, or would maybe his wife is upset with him, the way he will say "I'm so sorry," bring her flowers and bring her chocolate. An African man may not do it that same way. Do you understand what I mean? He'll probably be like, "What's wrong with you now? Why you like this now?" You know, and it's okay. We don't have to be, do you understand? We need to start, that is our African narrative, and they will get used to that. One of the big drivers for Demi Moore back in the day was the one-eyed cry. And then, that was the moneymaker at that point. And the camera will go zoom in and follow the tear. It was that tear, just from the left and slowly trail down the eye. That was a big moment. And then the thing about when a mother loses a child in an American movie, showing grief might be more contained. Mm-hmm. But when you're shooting an African movie, chances are, or even if in real life, when you're talking, the mother will jump up, hit the sky, and fall down. And then, but then people not go, "You're overacting." No, we're not overacting. That's the way we display grief. But because the world has not, they're not used to the way we express love, we express grief. So it's like, why are they overacting? No, we're not. And even a lot of Africans that see this all around them will watch an African movie and go, "Why are they overacting? No, why can't they do it like this movie?" Because we are not this person. We are not Demi Moore. We're not that. So I think for me, I'm almost like a general now in an army saying, I enjoy my African stories. I enjoy the way we love. I enjoy the way we share grief. Look, the names, I'm going to put Moshe Bolaton as one of the characters, and you better learn how to pronounce it, because heck, I know how to pronounce like the Russian names when you're putting in the movies, and not the long Jewish names. And it's, so if I can give you that courtesy, it has to be the other way around. But I think what is so Africans, especially when we're creating, we need to understand that this is our chance to sensitize the rest of the world about how we're living through entertainment, through film, heck, through music. And you see what music is doing. One of the greatest things that the success of African music, especially like Nigerian music, has done for the rest of the world is, it's not just that, the artists are making money and then all these other people know them, PDD is inviting them to his house and maybe producing their tracks and stuff like that. No, it's the confidence that comes with it. Now, Wizkid is going to go into the studio and he's not trying to make a Chris Brown track. He can never make a Chris Brown track better than Chris Brown. So he's going to go in and be authentically Wizkid. And Chris Brown is going to be like, "Whoa, what is that sound? I got to sample that." This is where we need to get to now as filmmakers, not being ashamed of the way we love, the way we mourn, the way we look, the way we speak, things like that. So it's very important that we embrace ourselves in our movies, because that, like I said, that is the greatest transport that we can show the rest of the world what we're really like. I hope I'm making any sense.
Amazing. I loved what you were saying, Kemi, just around like sensitizing the world through entertainment, which is just an incredible platform to be able to bridge those gaps of knowledge and understanding to unify us at the end of the day. We have a question from the audience, which is, as a part of the Africa narrative, should the focus be on telling stories of our past, history, and heritage, or do you think it should be on the African current context? Paul, you got this one.
No, I want to start because she comes with the energy and the power. I'm trying to checking the time. No, let her finish it because she's the finisher. Okay. So wow, I hear this, I read about this a lot I see this on Instagram actually a lot about not this black pain thing, not, I guess for me, it's about who's telling the story and who wants to watch. For me, it's really that simple. Yes, there is a thing of like, it's being overdone, or we're being too, the word won't come to me right now, but it's like apartheid stories in South Africa. I don't think everybody's story has been told. However, I don't think that we should only be telling those stories. I think everyone is, imagine going to musicians, people, you guys think that you can just treat filmmakers like you're going to tell us what to do. I haven't seen any of you going to Beyonce or anybody and telling them which music they should be making. They make whatever music, they come, they deliver it, they keep it moving. The only way you find out if it was worth making is if you sleep well at night, 1, 2, if it is successful. Yeah. Those are the two different things. So I think it's important. My children need to see how, with the current technology that we have now, to tell these type of stories, because 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, the type of technology that would have properly and more kind of with the right texture of telling that story, not just with green screens and fake things happening there, which was great back then. But I need Tando to watch what's this movie that Ava DuVernay made recently, man? It's a series with the boys. Come on, give it to me.
With the Central Park 5?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I managed to
stand. Now you see me. Now they see me.
How they see us, I think.
Now they see us.
Now they see.
Now they see us.
Yeah. So, like, for example, that are you saying like black pain shouldn't be profitable and we don't want to see that? No. Make the stories you want to watch. Make the stories you believe are going to represent who you are and where you come from. When they see us, not how they see us, my apologies. So I think it's really important for people to understand that this is art. This is creativity. It's not like we're following some sort of textbook. No, we are creating as we go, and we are creating what we love and what we believe in. You don't go tell a painter what to paint. You don't go tell a sculptor what to sculpt. Yes, it's important for us to listen to people and understand what they want or what they think or what they want to see, especially if you're trying to be profitable as well. But if your art is going to be dictated to you, if your movies are going to be dictated to you, or what you want to say, the pictures that you take, then it's not really what you should be doing anymore. If it's being influenced by the outside, these things are supposed to be coming from within. Of course, there's research. Of course, there's other things and other variables that you need to consider, most definitely. But I think artists should be allowed to use their creativity and do what they think is best for the stories they want to tell, that they are born to tell. Just like a musician has to sing music they were born to sing. Just like a painter has to paint a painting they were born to paint. Like, for me, it's really, really that simple. I don't believe anyone should be dictated to about which story. I think every Black narrative, every Black or African story that needs to be told must be told. End of story.
Awesome. Kemi, do you want to add anything?
I think she basically said everything, but I think I'll just add that you can't please everybody. Yeah. Look, there was a time where they say we're not having enough Black movies or enough things with history, and now we have them, and now you're pushing the goalpost even further. Do you understand what I mean? So I understand where people are like, why is it only movies that we're always suffering, in them? But look, a lot of our recent past, that's what it was. So are we going to whitewash it? No, we're not. So it's either you want us to tell the stories or you don't want us to tell the stories, because fine. But then Pearl made a very authentic point. Make the films that help you sleep at night. Make the films that like, you know, like it bubbles in your like, for instance, when I want to make something, I can't eat, I can't sleep, you know, and you got to remember, I also have like severe imposter syndrome many times. And I'm like, no, Kemi, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to hear that, but I can't shake it off. I can't think without, I have to do this movie. Now, when I do it and I release it to the world, I've birthed it to the world, I am satisfied that I've told an authentic story that I wanted. So once you can sleep good at night and you've said something in your own voice, hey man, anybody else, you're never going to have 100% of the gallery. It's never going to happen. So it's, I exactly what Pearl was saying is that you can't dictate what people are going to, what art, what somebody's going to, what art somebody's going to create. I don't think anybody should have that license to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and just speaking, I mean, hearing what you have been saying just about, you know, current stories that need to be told, what's been really exciting to see is the emergence of the streaming platforms and making local content like highly available to the rest of the world. And Kemi, we were chatting about this earlier, so maybe you can speak a little bit more to that, like how the landscape is changing, and now there's this global accessibility to content from the continent. How is that being received by audiences that wouldn't normally consume that kind of content?
I can only speak from a fairly subjective space. So for instance, let's put it, let's speak about King of Boys. King of Boys coming out soon, Netflix. Anyway, you know, and then what happens is the feedback that you're getting through like social media, Twitter, and you're having, and it's wonderful seeing someone from the Bahamas commenting on the lead character and how fierce she is, or understanding a little bit more of you know, Nigerian culture or the way they speak. Is wonderful to hear someone and she goes, oh, I'm this lady from Ohio and I just watched the movie, oh my God. And you know what I do sometimes is on Twitter, I'll just go King of Boys, Google it and see what people are saying about it. And I try to respond to when somebody's going, oh my God, is this movie on Netflix or whatever it is? I really loved it and blah. And I say, thank you very much. And then the person goes, oh, is this a director? And they start engaging with me. And I go, where are you from? It's like, oh, I'm in London, I'm in the Netherlands, or I'm in Paris, and I'm in, you know, and then what the streamers have done is just make the world smaller. To be honest, that's what technology has done, is make the world smaller. It would have taken forever for a King of Boys to travel from Nigeria to the States. Mm-hmm. But then it's over. Then I remember I also said something about sensitizing the rest of the world to our own kind of storytelling. I'll give a very short story, because I talk a lot. I'll give a very short story to sum this up. 2 years ago, it was just before COVID, we were in Los Angeles showing King of Boys. And there were two other Nigerian movies, Lionheart, Genevieve Naji's Lionheart, and Up North. And of course, they introduced us, all the directors that were coming in, who were screening at USC. And during like an intermission, I walked out into the lobby, and I just quickly got surrounded by people that were some parts of the audience, and they were all white. And because they had recognized me as one of the directors that asked to sign up for recognition, and were engaging me with questions and asking questions, and then, oh my God, this and that, and then this part and that part. And one of the things I said to them when I said, everybody calm down, let me blow your mind right now. Did you notice that there weren't any subtitles in the movie, apart from like maybe if something was said in a foreign language? And they were like, and to them it was like, I don't understand why you're making a point of it, but yeah, there wasn't any subtitles. That wouldn't happen as recent as 4 years ago.
Absolutely.
If it was not it was not American English or British English, it would still have to be subtitled. Yeah. So if it was an African film that was in English, it would have the African English would have to be subtitled from the very beginning to the very end. Mm. Those are like the little changes that are happening that a lot of people are not stopping to understand. Like, we are coming. We are coming. Like, we love Tom Cruise and everything, but we've seen Mission Impossible like 5, 6 times.
Why is Tom Cruise suffering in this discussion?
Now they want more stories, and I think we are the dark horse coming from behind. I think the one of our greatest handicaps when it comes to art, because like I said, the Holy Trinity, African parents want to push their kids to have the best chances possible. So you're always taking them for the top tier occupations, lawyer, doctor, engineer, and a lot of what was sidelined was art and creativity. So we had this very large pool, but not too many tadpoles in it. But in every other parts of the world, they nurture that from when you're young. But what has happened now, it's kind of gotten saturated over there. Do you understand what I mean? Let's be honest. So now it's broadening out. We want new stories, we want brand new stories. We want to see other people that don't look like us. We want to see, oh my God, wedding party, and everybody, look at all the colors that were coming into the at the wedding. You mean you have weddings in Nigeria like with as many as 1,000 people? South Africa, the way we do our weddings, we don't play. It's like this is a festivity. Like, we have 2 weddings. We have the traditional wedding, and then we have the white wedding.
You better come to my wedding when I get married. I'm gonna show you
with bells on. Do you have Ashwabi? Ashwabi in Nigeria is you buy a material for whichever side of the family you're coming to support. So the groom's family might have a different color, the bride's family might have a different color. So everybody comes, they wear their clothes and they tie that material around. So I am affiliated with this and I'm affiliated. How would you know that if you didn't come to Nigeria, go to a wedding, or through film? Do you understand what I mean? So I forgot my point now, but
So global audiences are loving seeing how life is like in other places of the world.
Exactly. Now they're more open to it. To it.
If I could just add to that.
Of course.
I remember when she spoke about showcasing films, when I think it was at LA Film Festival, we were there and Catching Feelings was showing, and another film I'd done, Kalushi, was showing, like same week or same time or whatever. So I had to like jump between the theaters. What's so interesting is people engaged with both. The one was a period piece for the for Youth Day, for 1976. And then the other one was a very contemporary, dark comedy, very, that guy who, oh God, I mean, I describe him like that. Woody Allen, woo! Okay, Woody Allen, very Woody Allen-y type of filmmaking structure. And people loved both, but it was really interesting because they also connected so much, which I love about what you've done as well, Kemi, is people connect with what's happening today as well. Because I think everybody has a pretty good idea of what's happened in the past, fair enough. But not every, like I said before, not every story has been told. And when we put that movie out there, people are like, oh, so Joburg is like this. Oh, is this what's happening in Joburg? They really want to connect. And I think, like people have been saying, those stories need to be told, but we don't need to neglect any other story, like I mentioned before. So I think what she said is 100% on the mark. We need to believe in who we are, our stories, our reactions, our personal experiences. Kemi, when are you coming to South Africa?
Look, South Africa used to be my second home. I used to be there. You invite me, I am right there with you. You gotta show me sights and sounds.
When I come to Nigeria,
I heard you running over there. I heard you running over there. You gotta show me sights and sounds. We gotta collaborate as well. And this is also what it's about. It's also about collaborations and pushing that narrative forward. I cannot, like, for instance, like I love South Africa. So that's another African nation. And while we have so many things similar, because guess what, we are Africans, that's just what's going to happen. There are other things where that it's slightly different from the way we do things. Oh, that's beautiful. I want to learn more about it. Hey, imagine now if we could collaborate in some sort of a production that showcases to the rest of the world. Do you understand what I mean? Those things are important. And now remember that point. It goes back again to the streamers. If you go and you speak to them, they will tell you, and this is one of the reasons why places like, you know that Netflix is in town already. You know that Amazon Prime is coming in. Apple is already in. They're not stupid. They're not crazy. Do you understand? You think they're there to waste money? Of course not. that is the next gold. But now this is something that we need to be very mindful of. We need to be very mindful that we want, because we need that we need that money. We need the outside investments. We welcome it. That's the only way we're going to grow. But we have to be very mindful that we don't sell our birthright in the process. Now they come in, they take it, and it now becomes theirs. And they've taken all the gold, and then we didn't have anything. We didn't negotiate for a greater price. We didn't, no, they need to come take our permission, and we'll give them what we want to give them. So we're the people in front of the crypt. You want this? Okay, take this. Not open the entire doors and everybody comes and rummages through and takes whatever they want. No, we don't want to do that. So we need to have a say in how we are being represented. When people come to give us money, we need to be the ones making the rules. It's very important that we make the rules, because that's the only way we're going to remain authentic. Because then very soon it's just going to be the same with the rest of the world.
Kemi, I hate to do this, but we are completely out of time.
You're lying.
I'm not lying. That felt like 5 minutes. But we're totally out of time. I'm so sorry, because this has been...
Can I add one thing to what she said? The next step, I think I've always said this, we are the sacrificial lambs of this new connect with the streamers, right? Yeah. With big platforms. The next step is we need to create our own, because we're going to end up like the musicians who are crying for their masters 50 years later, right?
Yeah.
So what I was even saying is, no, guys, we have to, the next generation, we need to start telling them now, can you guys start building the platforms so you own your stories and you go buy their stories so they know what it feels like.
Yes.
But right now, nothing is really different. Don't get it twisted. We know what's happening. We just don't have a choice, because we are wanting to tell our stories and we don't have the type of cash that they are offering. So we need to do what needs to be done for the next generation to make sure that they can now have their own streaming services, and then can own their own. We are the sacrificial lambs, unfortunately, but sacrifices need to be made for great things to be done.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies.
The time is done.
We have to continue this conversation at some other point, but thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Email me.
I will. I'll send you a message on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Bye.
it. Take care. Bye.